Welcome back to part 2 of the day 9 notes. Before we do number 11, real quick, I wanted to walk you through the steps for these problems when you are solving. So I already mentioned the steps when you're just factoring. You do the GCF and then you do the box problem. For these problems, because you're solving and there's going to be an equal sign, the first thing you want to do is make sure that it's equal to 0. If it's not equal to 0, you're going to have to move stuff around like we've kind of done before. Step 2 is you're going to do a GCF if possible. Sometimes there's a GCF, other times the GCF might be just 1, and if that's the case, you don't really need to worry about it. Step 3, then you do your box problem. And then step 4, that's when you're going to do zero product property and solve. So in this one, we did all of those steps. The only thing we really didn't have to worry too much about was step 1 because it was already equal to 0. So for number 11, we're going to follow those steps. We're going to make it equal to 0. Check. GCF. All right, they don't all have an x in common, so that's not part of the GCF. GCF 3, 51, 48, again, usually the GCF is just going to be this number. And if you divide 48 and 51 by 3, it does work out nicely. So 3 is going to be our GCF. Divide each of these by 3. You can use your calculator. This is going to become x squared. 51x divided by 3 is 17x. 48 divided by 3 is 16. Now, with the stuff that's inside the parentheses, we do our box problem. So it's got to multiply to be 16 and add to be 17. Those two numbers are 16 and 1. You make your two sets of parentheses. The 3 is still out in front. The x goes at the beginning of both sets of parentheses. Since it's 16 and 1, it'll be positive 16 and a positive 1, so plus and plus, and it's still equal to 0. Last step is zero product property. Set things equal to 0 and solve. We cannot set 3 equal to 0. That's not possible. But we can set x plus 16 equal to 0 and x plus 1 equal to 0. And so we just need to solve for x. Subtract 16, you get negative 16. Subtract 1, you get negative 1. All right, so those are going to be your solutions. And if you want to, you could plug it back in, and you should end up getting 0 after plugging those two numbers in. So if you have extra time and you want to check, you can certainly do so. All right, let's go to the last page. We're going to do a couple more, and then you'll try one. For number 12, okay, again, this first step is to make it equal to 0. GCF, box problem, ZPP. Make it equal to 0. It's not equal to 0 right now. We need to get rid of this negative 66x. So we're going to add 66x to both sides. And we've kind of done this already with our previous problems. I'm going to make it so the left side goes in descending order. So I'm going to have the 6x squared go first, then the plus 66x, and then the plus 180. All right. After that, it's GCF. They don't all have an x in common, but if we look at 6, 66, and 180, usually the GCF is that number, and it is. All three of those numbers can be divided by 6. So 6 is going to be our GCF. Divide each of them by 6. You'll get x squared. 66 divided by 6 is 11. 180 divided by 6 is 30. All right, and then the 6 goes out in front. That's our GCF, equals 0. Now what we need to do is we need to do a box problem. It's got to multiply to be 30 and add to be 11. Those two numbers are going to be 6 and 5. 6 times 5 is 30. 6 plus 5 is 11. So we make our 6 out in front, two sets of parentheses with an x at the beginning of both. Positive 6 means plus 6. Positive 5 means plus 5. And our final step now is zero product property. Set things equal to 0. 6 cannot be set equal to 0. So we can't do anything with that. But x plus 6 can be set equal to 0, and x plus 5 can be set equal to 0. We're going to minus 6 from both sides, giving us x equals negative 6. And subtract 5 from both sides, giving us x equals negative 5. All right, and that's going to be our solutions. 13 is already equal to 0, so we don't have to worry about that. Step 2 is GCF. This time you'll notice that all three of them have an x. So x is going to be part of our GCF. You take the x with the smallest exponent, which would be x to the first. They also have 3, 39, and 90. All three of those can be divided by 3. Again, usually the GCF is this number. All three of those definitely can be divided by 3. So 3 and x are my GCF. 3x is my GCF. I put two sets of parentheses equals 0. I'm going to divide every single one of these by 3x because 3x is my GCF. So when I divide 3 by 3, I get 1. X cubed divided by x is x squared. If you want to put a 1 in front of the x squared, you can, but it's not needed. Plus 39 divided by 3, that's 13. X squared divided by x is x. Minus 90 divided by 3 is 30. X divided by x, they cancel. So I'm left with x squared plus 13x minus 30 inside the parentheses. So be careful how you divide that out. Then we do our box problem. It's got to multiply to be negative 30 and add to be 13. So those numbers are going to end up being 15 and negative 2. So I'm going to make my two sets of parentheses. GCF is out in front. X at the beginning of both of these parentheses. Positive 15, you put a plus 15. Negative 2, you put a minus 2. And now our final step is zero product property. Set things equal to 0 and solve. This time you can set 3x equal to 0. Before we only had just a number. This time we actually have a variable. So 3x is going to be set equal to 0. X plus 15 is going to be set equal to 0. And x minus 2 is going to be set equal to 0. So we're going to have three answers. Divide by 3, you get 0. Subtract 15, you get negative 15. And add 2, you get positive 2. All right, so those are going to be your three solutions. I'd like you to try number 14. For number 14, you want to start off by making it equal to 0, so you're going to have to move the 12. Then do your GCF. All right, so make it equal to 0. Then do your GCF. Then do your box problem. And then you do your ZPP and solve. All right, so pause the video, give it a try, and then come back and see how you did. Okay, so let's see how you did. So first off, you want to make it equal to 0. So I had to move the 12 over by minusing 12 from both sides. I put it at the end so it's in descending order. After that, I noticed that my GCF was 2. All three of those numbers are divisible by 2. So I divided everything by 2, and that's how I got x squared minus 5x minus 6. And the 2, my GCF goes out in front. After that, I did a box problem with the x squared minus 5x minus 6. So it's got to multiply to be negative 6, add to be negative 5. Those numbers are negative 6 and 1. So you get x minus 6 times x plus 1, and the GCF is still out in front. You can't set the 2 equal to 0. That doesn't work. But you can set x minus 6 equal to 0 and x plus 1 equal to 0, giving you 6 and negative 1 after solving. All right, and that's it.